Welcome back to Network Africa. Libya's UN-backed unity government has said France had not coordinated with it over the presence of French troops in Libya and that it would not compromise on its sovereignty after France announced the deaths of 3 of its soldiers there. The special forces teams from countries including France, Britain and the United States are on the ground in western and eastern Libya. The French have been working alongside forces loyal to Eastern Libyan commander Khalifa Haftar against Islamic militants. Haftar has rejected the UN-backed government of the National Accord in Tripoli, which is backed by major Western powers, including France. Well, the GNA's Presidential Council said in a statement released late on Wednesday that it had asked France for an explanation after President François Hollande announced the soldiers' deaths during dangerous intelligence operations. Meanwhile, the military has indicated that it has the upper hand over the Islamic State when it recently displayed weapons and materials used by its militants in battles against the army to control Sirte.
Military explosive experts in Libya unveiled collections of weapons and explosive devices they say are used by Islamic State in their battle against the Libyan army. In their base in Misrata, military experts displayed dozens of tanks and artillery shells, improvised explosive devices, IEDs, detonators and other materials. The Libyan Army explosive team say they have so far dismantled more than 100 explosive devices in locations around Islamic State strongholds in Sirte, including in and around government buildings and residential homes. Around 200 bombs, tank shells and IEDs were also dismantled since the army operations began 2 months ago to liberate Sirte from the Islamic State. In the process of dismantling the explosives, officials say that 1 of their team was killed and 3 others injured. Islamic State, in their fight against the Libyan army, have used suicide attackers and vehicles laden with explosives, often targeting army checkpoints. IEDs planted along the roads and highways used by the military are often tactics used by ISIS. Islamic State is clinging on in the center of Sirte in the face of a 2-month campaign by brigades mainly composed of fighters from the western city of Misrata. Their progress has been slowed by resistance from militants holed up in a 5-kilometer area in central Sirte. Losing Sirte would represent a major setback for Islamic State, which established its most important base outside Syria and Iraq in the Libyan city. Sirte has been under the militants' control since last year, and it had extended its presence along 250 kilometers of the coastline. The militant group expanded into Libya amid the political chaos and security vacuum that developed after a long-time ruler, Muammar Gaddafi, was toppled in an uprising in 2011.
Now, here's a story you shouldn't chicken out from. Scientists have made a really interesting discovery about how to prevent malaria, and it concerns the smell from live chickens, which they say could help prevent the disease. According to Ethiopian and Swedish scientists, experiments conducted in western Ethiopia included suspending a live chicken in a cage near a volunteer sleeping under a bed net. They discovered that malarial mosquitoes tend to avoid chickens and other birds. The scientists whose work was published in the Malaria Journal concluded that as mosquitoes use their sense of smell to locate an animal they can bite, there must be something in a chicken's odor that puts the insects off. Addis Ababa University's Habitie Tekir, who worked on the research, said that the compounds from the smell of the chicken can be extracted and could work as a repellent. The malaria parasite, which initially hides in the liver before going into the bloodstream, is carried from person to person by mosquitoes when they drink blood. Well, this is a really interesting story, and we had to bring in a health expert to discover whether this could be true. Dr. Marian Ngwola is in our studios in Abuja. Dr. Ngwola, thanks for joining us. What do you make of this report?
It shows that the world is still looking for solutions concerning the fight against malaria. And the issue of mosquito repellent has been there for some time. And we can already say that we have some substances that are being used as mosquito repellent. We are using lemongrass, we are using neem tree. And it shows that we just have to make sure that we use everything that is possible and is available to ensure that malaria is being controlled and eliminated. And if this is something that can help, why not? But why don't we use what we have already here, meaning lemongrass and also neem tree and some other substances.
Well, Dr. Ngwala, how much of an impact do you think a report like this can make on the continent?
And I think it will once more bring at the forefront the fight against malaria and tell us that everything must be done to eliminate it. Because we know that it's not just the mosquito that brings malaria that is to be considered. It's also the mosquitoes that brings other diseases that we know. We have the Zika that is unfortunately coming up, and then we have also the dengue fever, we have the yellow fever, and we have an outbreak here. It's just to remind us that we have to do everything possible to have the mosquitoes as far as possible from the contact with human beings, because for now, this malaria is transmitted from mosquitoes to human beings, but now we know Zika goes from human beings to human beings from sexual transmission. So it says to awaken us to make sure that we move forward and we are proactive to have concrete solutions that can definitely help us to fight malaria.
Well, as we know that malaria is a deadly disease. I mean, it has killed as many as 400,000 people in Africa last year. But are there more dangers that malaria could pose?
Oh, we know that malaria is, first of all, a developmental challenge. And it has been so not just for Africa, but for the rest of the world. Because it was so challenging and there's such a problem, the whole world made sure that they eliminate it. It was somewhere else in some times ago. We had it in America, we had it in Europe, but they fought to make sure that they get rid of it because it causes developmental challenges. We know the impact on the economy directly and indirectly. We know the impact on our day-to-day lives. And even though in Africa we have come to live with it as if it's something that is there to stay with us, but instead of making sure that we do like the rest of the world has done it, we eliminate it to ensure that we can benefit from the good quality of life and therefore having basis for development for us.
Oh, you just said now that it appears we've come to accept malaria like it has come to stay with us. But what can we do to eliminate malaria as much as we can?
But in everything, I think we need to start with ourselves. You know, we know that malaria is caused by mosquitoes. We know that if we reduce the population of mosquitoes, we reduce the chances of malaria transmission. And to reduce the population of mosquitoes, we have different ways. But there is one very simple way that we have that is available for each one of us to start, as we have been saying, to stop being mosquitoes farmers in our own environment. It helps us to remind ourselves that the first health center is the environment in which we live. If each individual, you, I, and the population, decide that we should ensure that our environment is clean, this is the first step, because there is no way that you can have the mosquito net in a breeding site, because we are living in breeding site, so we need to suppress the population. We need to reduce the man-made breeding site by day-to-day activities and ensuring sanitation, covering with mass education, and then that is a first step that we can take, and we don't need much support. You just need a personal decision and community mobilization to ensure that we move forward, because we need definitely to control the population of the mosquitoes. We are taking it for granted, but we can see that today we have Zika, and we are emphasizing on the Zika problem that is somewhere in South America, but we cannot expect that it will not reach Africa. We know it's the same mosquito that is giving us other diseases. So how do we control it? For malaria, we have mosquito net, we have malaria tablet, but so far for Zika, we don't have effective treatment.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ngwala.
But the only solution is to reduce the chances of...
Well, still ahead on Network Africa. Medicine Sans Frontiers says it's asking that more attention be paid to those living with HIV/AIDS. Please stay with us.